All right, what's going on with Home Depot? Because you know what? It's been a heck of a year, a lot of changes, a lot of stuff going on in the markets. And we need to talk about why Home Depot is where they are and what's going on going forward. But before we get into it, let's talk about today's sponsor. You know, when you live in Montana, you need a pair of boots that can handle a full day outside and then get cleaned up here for, going out on the town. And that's why I love my Tacovas. And that's pronounced Tacovas, all right? These are classic cowboy boots, that timeless Western style. They are handmade with over 200 individual steps. Every stitch, every cut, every detail is designed and it's done on purpose, okay? The leather, it's rich, it's supple, it's durable though. It always has that already broken in kind of feeling when they show up right to your door. I've worn a lot of boots in my day and, it can take a while for them to feel good. You know when you put them on the first time, you got that, you're just waiting for that pinch. That's just not something you get with Tacovas. No pinch, no stiff. They're just ready to go, feeling solid and ready to use right out of the box. And then last weekend the missus and I, we decided to step out for date night. Took her to old Stacy's Old Faithful bar and steakhouse over in Bozeman. A great little kind of secret place that now apparently everyone knows about it, and that's my fault. But anyway, great meal, great time. And you feel comfortable walking around something like this, feeling good when you're out with the missus. Anyway, whether it's you're working around the shop or whether you're headed for a night out, they're not just boots, they're confidence you can wear. Now, if you click my link in the description or scan the QR code on screen, you can get your new favorite pair of boots today. Use my code DEN10 for 10% off your first pair of Tacovas. All right, let's get back into it. Now, first off, I just want to clear the air. Home Depot is the largest ranking tool store, home improvement store, hardware store, no matter what you want to call it. They have 28 to 18% of the market, depending on which category you're looking at. They lead it in every single number. They are the largest retailer when it comes to home improvement tools and whatnot. Now, that said, they also are expanding quickly. This is 11 stores. Now that means not seem a lot when you look at stuff like Harbor Freight and stuff, opening stores left to right every week, yada, yada, yada. But the fact is, it's a much bigger investment to open a Home Depot store. So when they open a store, it's big news, all right? Now that said, Home Depot has also introduced their Magic Apron, which is their own AI. I know everyone's got AI these days, but this is built into their website. So when you go to the website, here, I'll pull one up for you. There you go. You come up here, you may have noticed it over on the right. You come up, I'm looking at a product and Magic Apron says, hey, do you want to know what the key features are? What it can be used for? And this is like, look, is this good for use on concrete? Pardon my typing, I'm typing around stuff. And then it's gonna sit there and it's gonna think about it. And then it comes back and says, no, this does not have the hammer drill function that you want. Now I know a lot of you are like, I don't need AI to tell me that. And granted, you don't, but you're not the majority of buyers, okay? I get it, you're all the Ron Swansons, you know more than the guys in the Home Depot, but that's what this is doing. This is replacing that person. We used to have the old retired hands who couldn't be on the job site anymore. So they got the job at Home Depot and they're the friendly guy in the corner who could tell you everything, more than everything. But that's just not the case. And so now they've got AI doing that job. Now, the other thing is that they've been cornering a lot more markets. One of them has been the Halloween market, which I guess I did not really realize how big that market is. But every year, people go crazy around this time to see the next Home Depot outside, Halloween decoration launch. This year, it's the Ultra Skelly. He apparently isn't quite as tall as he used to be, but now he's fully animated, has all these features. He can talk and you can control it all with your phone. So you can really scare the neighborhood kids with him. And that's supposed to launch on the 4th, if I'm not mistaken. But that's not it. Halloween decorations have risen to a really high mark. You would be surprised, second only to Christmas. But that said, today we have a double whammy. The jobs numbers came in. They're not as high as people were wanting. The tariffs got announced across the board. And the stock market, well, it went up to the high dive and took a jump. And everything's down. But not everything. Because you know who's not down? Home Depot. Home Depot stock today is up. And if you look at it for the year to date, yeah, it took a dive like everyone else did when the first talk of tariffs happened in early March, but it's slowly been working it's had setbacks, but it's slowly working its way back up. And, it's not near its high. I think its all-time high was 424 there. But at 373, it's not there. But there is a steady pattern of growth here, whereas the rest of the market is still reeling. Now, this is not, despite rumors, it's not because they signed a $200 million deal with DHS to allow ISRS. That is unconfirmed, as they say. But no, the real reason is stuff like this. They made a commitment back in the original Trump administration. They saw the writing on the wall, and they were like, we need to diversify our sources. And they have promised that by the end of the decade, basically, that they will have no more than 10% of their entire stock from any given sourced country. So if, China gets hit by a bus, it's an old business saying thing, getting hit by a bus is like, what happens if you lose access to X, Y, or Z? So if China gets hit by a bus, then you still have 90% of your product. If Mexico gets hit by a bus, you still have 90% of your product. And they've been working and been successful at diversifying a lot of those sources. They're not there yet, but that's definitely where they're going. And the people in the market, especially a lot of institutional investors, are aware of that, and they recognize that, okay? The other thing is they've been hitting their numbers. Despite everything going on in the market, Home Depot is still nailing those numbers. They first quarter this year, they beat the numbers, not by a ton, but they beat the numbers, and their numbers coming out later this month. They're expected to meet or exceed those numbers, and they are on track to do just that. It's not going to be by a lot, but they are going to meet or exceed them, which is, compared to a lot of other retail segments, they're doing pretty good, okay? Now, the other thing is this, and that is integration. This is the Home Depot, this is TTI's report, their internal report. If you guys don't know who TTI is the company that makes stuff like Milwaukee, Ryobi, Rigid, and a bunch of other tools, okay? And what has happened over at Home Depot is that they've become a lot more vertically integrated with TTI. You've seen it in a lot of cases where they went in and they took a bunch of the pliers and other stuff that they made, and they got rid of them, and they made a big room there for TTI. In some stores, it's all the room. In some stores, it's like half or at least a third of it. All right. Another one is Estwing, which is a company that's close to my heart. Classic American-made hammers that many carpenters like myself back in the day started with. And they're gone. They were kicked out the door. They've been replaced by TTI, aka Milwaukee. In both of these cases, Milwaukee pliers, Milwaukee hammers, lots of Milwaukee screwdrivers, lots of Milwaukee tools. But it's not just Milwaukee. They had a long-standing deal with Ego, which I long have called the Cadillac of outdoor power equipment, and they replaced them with Ryobi. In fact, they've made the commitment that 85% or greater of all their outdoor power equipment, that includes push mowers, handheld outdoor equipment like leaf blowers and trimmers, will replace gas, and 85% or more will be electric by the end of 2028, which is not that far down the road, because that is a significant portion of their investment. Was it 85% of all their sales? And and Ryobi has been the big one to step into that place where Ego was. So now you look, you see Ego mowers there, you see Ryobi mowers where you saw Ego. Now, what does this mean for their integration with TTI? Well, for TTI, it's been great. Their stock, amazingly enough, is up today as well. And if you look at year to date on them, they are mirroring, if not doing better, than the same way that that Home Depot has been doing. So what we get here is a case of Home Depot has been really keeping their thumb on the pulse of what people are looking for, okay? They've also worked really hard to keep their prices the same or even lower in a lot of cases by diversifying their sources, getting those sources to fight with each other, and then not having, basically all their eggs in one basket. But on the other hand, they've worked closely with companies like TTI to really put out some of the best power tools on the market. Milwaukee, by far, is one of, if not the best tool out there for professionals. Ryobi is a must have in the decision list for the average homeowner. Rigid, you know how I feel about Rigid. They're not exactly the Goldilocks zone. They're a little bit too expensive, too close to Milwaukee in pricing. Not enough tools in the way that Ryobi has it. It's like they're not enough of anything. But that said, between the two, the way that Ryobi stepped up with their HP tools, the lower cost Milwaukee's with the 12 volt stuff, there's a huge overlap between the two, and I don't think you can miss out between either of those. So, and now with expanding more and more expanding of Home Depot, they're going to be about everywhere. Now, I totally understand. Some places you go in the Home Depot and it's a terrible store. It really is. It all comes down to local store management. You know, I often say that, you know, when I lived in California, you went to Home Depot because Lowe's was terrible. Then when I moved to Nevada, Home Depot was terrible and Lowe's was the store to go to. But now that I live up here in Montana, they're both great because, you know, you got Montana people working there. We're just friendly folk, right? The point is this, that Home Depot has had the lead for years, and they show no signs of taking their foot off the gas pedal, all right? More diversification, but at the same time, also closer relationship with key partners to get you the best products at the best price, the ones that you were looking for. All right, TTI building stuff in the U.S., trying to, you know, again, working with them, hearing what Home Depot saying, look, we need diversified, sourcing, and so those partners are delivering that for them. I don't see them changing pace at all, and you know, if you're looking for a good stock to buy into, probably a good one. Full disclosure. Whereas I do own quite a bit of stock, I do not ever purchase stocks in any of the companies that we talk about. You'll never see me owning stock in Home Depot or Lowe's or TTI or Snap-on or any of those. I don't buy positions, shorts or puts or any of that kind of stuff. So we never dip our toes in the water in the stuff that we talk about. That would be a bad thing. Anyway, if you've got any questions or comments about what you think is going on with Home Depot and some of their partners, put it down below in the comments. I always try to read everything I can and respond to the ones that I need to respond to. If you like what we do here, go ahead and chomp the old like button, smash that subscribe, ring the bell on the way out. You all take care, God bless, and as always, shine on.